This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Noop Sports Show.
I'm Roddy Newpel with NoopSports.com. That's KNUPSports.com. And this is your Lit Fire Sports podcast. All right, Major League Baseball, second half of the season is ready to roll. And let's look ahead at some of the future bets for the postseason in Major League Baseball. And we'll start with the National League, where you've got two divisions that have kind of creeped out of hand a little bit at the All-Star break. The Washington Nationals with a 9.5 game lead over Atlanta Braves. Miami's 10.5, Mets are 12, and the Philadelphia Phillies are 22.5. You can eliminate the Phillies. They are not going to playoffs. The other three teams, can they make a run? You know, New York has that pitching that everybody's scared about, but to be honest, pitching hasn't been real good, giving up 455 runs, which is the most in the National League this season. So the Mets pitching has failed them a little bit. And actually, they've scored some runs, 406 runs on the season. Mets just 39-47. Can't find a scenario where the Mets make a run, but they do have that young pitching that everybody continues to talk about. Braves seem to be too young. Miami doesn't seem to have enough. They look to be selling. The odds to win the National League East, the Washington Nationals are minus 6,600 to win the National League East. You got it. You know, they were minus 137 to open up the season. The Mets were plus 188. So the Mets were supposed to be the top contender. Mets are still second on the list at plus 1,200. Atlanta's plus 1,500. Miami 3,300. And the Philadelphia Phillies are plus 20,000. But you've got to go with the Washington Nationals at minus 6,600. But you've got to understand you're going to have to pay an awful lot of money, $660 to win 100 for the Washington Nationals to win the National League East. So this might be a division you just stay away from. I just can't see a scenario where any of the other four teams make a run, especially three teams, not counting Philadelphia, make a run at the Washington Nationals. National League West kind of started to get out of hand as well, as the Los Angeles Dodgers are just red hot. Won their last 6 games before the All-Star break. 9 out of 10. They've only allowed 300 runs through their first 90 games. Their pitching has been phenomenal. Alex Wood, Clayton Kershaw, and all of the staff. And then offensively, Cody Bellinger, likely National League Rookie of the Year, and will be an MVP candidate if he continues up his numbers. Likely not to win the MVP, but who knows? If the Dodgers win 100 games and he has some pretty good stats, maybe he can do the Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. Well, the Dodgers are 7.5 games ahead of the Diamondbacks. The Rockies are 9.5 out. Padres 22 and Giants 27. In my mind, you can eliminate the Padres and the Giants. They are going nowhere and going nowhere fast. The Padres actually played a little bit better than most people thought they would at 38-50. The Giants have just been awful, allowing 453 runs. Padres, the worst scoring team in the league. Those two teams are pretty much done. The only good thing for San Diego is they at least played 500 at home. Now, the other two teams, Arizona and Colorado, currently lead the wild card. And we'll get to the wild card here once I'm done with the divisions in the National League. But Arizona, Colorado, are they legitimate? Can they hold on? Arizona 17 games over 500, Colorado 13 games over 500. The Dodgers started as the small favorites in the division, plus 110. San Francisco is plus 130. Hopefully you didn't make a bet on the Giants to win the NL West. You will lose that bet. Arizona's plus 1,200. Arizona's plus 1,000. And Colorado is plus 1,200, and then San Diego is plus 2,000. So moving on to what they are now, the Los Angeles Dodgers are minus 1,200. Minus 1,200 for the Dodgers to win the division. If you think Arizona is going to come back and win the division, plus 600, maybe not a bad bet, but it's awfully hard to bet against the Los Angeles Dodgers right now in the way they're playing. Colorado's plus 2,500. Like them earlier in the year, obviously they led the division there for a while, and then both the Padres and the Giants are plus 10,000. I think you got to go Dodgers here as well. Minus 1,200. Not nearly as severe as the bet that you would make for the Washington Nationals, but Los Angeles Dodgers, you're still going to be paying up quite a bit. So you'll be paying up quite a bit to win any money. So minus 1,200 for the Dodgers. Don't mind that bet. We'll take a look at that one in the NL West. All right, National League Central. It's amazing. The National League Central. Chicago Cubs just picked up Jose Quintana. That'll be a great addition. But the Milwaukee Brewers are 9 games over 500 and 5.5 games up heading into the second half of the season. The Brewers start the second half with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Cubs go to Baltimore. St. Louis goes to Pittsburgh. If they start opening up even bigger lead, what do the Cubs and Cardinals do? No way the Cubs sell, do they? I mean, Wade Davis, I guess, is an option you could sell because, especially if you're not going to bring him back next year, you could put Carl Edwards as your closer and you'd be just fine. Can't imagine there's other pieces. St. Louis Cardinals have some guys. Their closer in the back end, Seung-Hwan Oh, I think is a possibility of being traded. Lance Lynn. Matt Carpenter possibly for the Cardinals. They're both 5.5 games out. Now, when the season started, Chicago Cubs were minus 175 to win the division. Minus 303 to win the division. They're minus 175 now, so they're still a significantly large favorite over Milwaukee, who is plus 175. Start of the season, the Cardinals were plus 500. They're now at plus 750. Pittsburgh was plus 700. They're now at plus 2,500. And the Cincinnati Reds were at plus 2,500 to start the season. Now they're at plus 10,000. So, where do you go with the National League Central? You still got to think it's the Chicago Cubs to win. So if you waited on picking them to win the division, you do get a better chance at some odds now. You have a better chance of winning some decent money with the Cubs now. But if you're sold on the Milwaukee Brewers, they're plus 175. They have the 5.5 game cushion with 70 something games to go. You never know. We're still going to go with the Cubs to win this division. So we've got the Nationals, the Cubs, and the Dodgers, the 3 prohibited favorites at the beginning of the season, and now the favorites as well. National League wild card, I find it very interesting what's going on with the wild card because Arizona and Colorado kind of ran away with the wild card in the first half of the season. Arizona is 2 games up on Colorado. Then the Cubs and the Cardinals are 7.5 games back. If we like the Cubs to win the NL Central, they're going to have to get hot. So maybe Milwaukee could slide in there as they are just behind Arizona and Colorado. Find it hard to believe that the Cardinals are going to make the run at it. Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Miami. So to me, it's a 3-team race. It's Arizona, Colorado, and whoever can take down the National League Central. And I'm a big Cardinal fan. Just don't see them climbing out of the 5.5 game hole in the division and 7.5 in the wild card. They're going to have to get hot and stay hot and play much better on the road. 17-21 so far on the road. In the end, our 2 picks are going to stay with Arizona Diamondbacks and Colorado Rockies. Diamondbacks, Rockies playing a 1-game playoff for the right to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers. A little NL West battle there. And then the other, the Cubs, going to have to go on the road to take on Washington. Find it hard to find a scenario where the Cubs catch the Nationals for that home field advantage. I mean, if you look at it right now, the Cubs are 9 games back of Washington. And they played 88 games, so 74 games to go. That's going to be hard to catch because the Washington Nationals are going to play some cupcakes. They're going to play the Phillies, the Mets, the Marlins, the Braves a bunch of times. And the Cubs, Milwaukee's pretty good. They got the Cardinals are going to compete with them. Even Pittsburgh can compete as well. So it'll be interesting, but we'll go Cubs at Washington. So our 5 playoff teams, Dodgers 1 seed. They'll take on the winner of Arizona, Colorado. And then the other series would be Washington at home taking on the Chicago Cubs. So that's a look at the National League in terms of the odds and kind of my quick predictions. In the American League, the divisions, the AL East, started to spread out a little bit. Boston really played well at the end of the first half, and the Yankees just tanked the end of the first half. Tampa Bay, not so sure they're for real. Both the Yankees and Rays, 3.5 games back of Boston. Baltimore, 7.5, and Toronto's 8.5. You got to go with the Boston Red Sox here. They're starting pitching with Chris Sale, David Price, Rick Porcello. They've got Drew Pomeranz in there as well. They've got the best rotation in that division by far. They've got Mookie Betts, Dustin Pedroia, Xander Bogaerts. I mean, they got a great lineup. Boston minus 300 seems to be the bet to go there. Obviously you're taking a little bit of risk that you're not going to win your money back, obviously, with just a straight up bet, but minus 300, pretty good bet, pretty good value. Yankees are plus 300, Tampa Bay plus 1,000, Baltimore and Toronto both plus 3,300. Look at that compared to the beginning of the season. Boston was minus 110. Yankees were plus 450. Toronto was actually plus 300. Baltimore plus 750. And Tampa Bay was actually plus 1800. So we'll go with Boston Red Sox in the AL East. AL Central is a pretty tight race. The Indians have a 2.5 game lead over the Twins. The Royals are 3 backs. Tigers 8, White Sox 9. You can eliminate the Tigers and the White Sox. White Sox are already selling. The Tigers likely going to sell guys like Justin Upton, Justin Verlander, both on the way out likely. Cleveland Indians are minus 400. Kansas City is plus 400. Minnesota plus 750. So not a lot of love for the Minnesota Twins, despite the fact that they've hung in and even led for a decent chunk of the first half. Detroit 3,300. Chicago White Sox plus 6,600. That's a big change from the start of the season where Cleveland was minus 189. The Tigers and the Royals were plus 450, and White Sox and Minnesota were plus 1,800. Huge change from Minnesota. You know, if you got them at the beginning of the season, you gotta love that bet, going from 1,800 to plus 750. So we'll go with the Cleveland Indians at minus 400. Again, just like some of these other favorites, it's just hard to find a scenario they do not win the AL Central. Houston's going to win the AL West. They're minus 25,000, and they've just got a monstrous lead in that division. They're 16.5 games up over the Angels and the Rangers. Mariners and Oakland are right behind, 17.5 and 21 back. All 4 of those teams, I don't think, have a chance to make the playoffs. All right, in the wild card in American League, very interesting scenario here. The Angels, who we just mentioned, I don't think have a chance, are right there, you know, with a chance. Obviously, right now, the Yankees, the Rays, the Twins, and the Royals are all ahead of the Angels and the Rangers, even the Mariners, and then Baltimore. But it's going to be a race in the wild card for the American League because they are right there. Angels just 3 games back along with the Rangers. Mariners 4 games back. Orioles 4 games back. Toronto 5. So essentially most of the American League still has a chance. Yankees at 45 and 41. Aaron Judge, 30 home runs, was a big story in the first half. Can they play good enough baseball? Can they get Starlin Castro, Matt Holliday back and healthy and ready to compete in the second half? They're plus 98 run differential. You got to think they have a chance to win that wild card, one of those 2 wild cards. And then the other wild card that I seem interested in is that Kansas City Royals team. You know, they don't flash. They're not flashy. They don't take you away with their brilliant lineup or their sensational starting pitching. But Kansas City under Ned Yost continues to find ways to win. This is kind of their last hurrah before they all go away to free agency. So I'll take Kansas City in their pedigree over Tampa Bay and Minnesota. Kansas City just 1.5 game back of the Rays. I like Yankees and Kansas City to grab the American League wild card spot. So to kind of sum that up, Houston has the top seed in the American League. They'll get the winner of my predicted Yankees-Royals wild card game. And then I think Boston grabs the 2 seed. I think Boston's a better team over Cleveland right now. Now, Cleveland, of course, is the defending American League champions. I would not be surprised if the Cleveland Indians went back to the World Series. Boston and Cleveland played last year in the postseason. Boston would love to forget that series. But I'll go Boston as the 2 seed taking on Cleveland. I just think the AL Central is going to be tough for Cleveland. Minnesota is going to stick around. Kansas City is going to stick around. Even the Tigers and White Sox have the ability to win some games. Despite the fact I think American League East is better, I think the Indians will have a tough time below and through the Central. And I'll go Boston 2, Cleveland 3. So my 5 playoff teams: Houston, Boston, Cleveland, the Yankees, and the Kansas City Royals. All right, odds to win the World Series. Odds to win the World Series. First, let's go with the National League. Odds to win the National League Championship Series. The Dodgers are plus 240. Washington's plus 300. And the Cubs are plus 333. Got to go Dodgers. It's the Dodgers' year. If they can't get it done this year, I'm not so sure they're going to get it done. Plus 240 for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'll take that. In the American League, Boston's plus 300. They are just behind Houston, who's plus 200. Cleveland's plus 375. So there's 3 teams there. So again, Houston 200, Boston 300, Cleveland 375. If you want to go a little bit further, you could go Yankees at 600, Kansas City at 1800. But I think it's a 3-team race, and that is Houston, Boston, and Cleveland. And I'll take the veteran leadership and the pitching of the Boston Red Sox at plus 300 to win the American League. So my World Series is the Boston Red Sox, 300 to win the American League, and the Los Angeles Dodgers plus 240 to win the National League. And we move to World Series odds World Series odds, the Los Angeles Dodgers are plus 350. They are the favorites heading into the second half of the season to win the World Series. Houston second at plus 425. Boston's third at plus 600. Cleveland and the Cubs looking to get back to the World Series. They're both plus 800. And that kind of rounds out the top five. If you want to look at a long shot, a team like, let's see. Let's go with a team like the Milwaukee Brewers, who are leading the National League Central. They're plus 2,500. They started the season at plus 10,000. Plus 10,000 for them. I don't know, other long shots in there. You can never really count out the St. Louis Cardinals, but they're plus 5,000. Texas Rangers been in the playoffs the last couple years, plus 7,500. And the Washington Nationals. Don't forget about them in the top 5, 6 as well. They're plus 700. So to kind of recap that real quick, Houston and the Dodgers are the top two teams. Dodgers are plus 350. Houston's plus 425. Then you move to the Boston Red Sox at plus 600. They're third. The Washington Nationals are fourth at plus 700. And then there's a tie for fifth with Cleveland and the Chicago Cubs at plus 800. My pick to win the World Series, I've got to go back to the Boston Red Sox, plus 600. I'm falling in love with that pitching staff of David Price, Chris Sale. Even Rick Porcello, been there, done that before. Drew Pomeranz has some stuff. Mookie Betts in the offense. Dustin Pedroia, Xander Bogaerts. Just like that lineup a lot. Even Andrew Benintendi. I think he's going to be have a good second half. So I'm going to go with the Boston Red Sox, plus 600. Put my money down on the Boston Red Sox. Bet 100, win 600, whatever it is to win, like the Boston Red Sox to win the World Series. So that's kind of a look at the future odds. In the next podcast, we'll look at awards going forward. MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year. We'll give you the odds for those as well. But that's it for today. I'm Rodney Neupel from Noop Sports. This has been your Lit Fire Sports podcast, talking Major League Baseball future odds.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Noop Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at noopsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.